Have you ever noticed that familiar click every time you trim your nails? Such a small action that you do it without thinking, taking no more than 5 seconds and requiring no thought at all. Now imagine this. If you didn't have those nail clippers, no scissors, no hair clippers, what would you do when your hair covered your eyes and your fingernails started getting in the way every time you tried to grip something? 30,000 years ago, a 15-year-old boy named Kieran sat beside a stream. His hair had grown so long that it regularly fell in front of his eyes. Every time he ran, his hair blocked his vision. Every time he bent down to work, he had to use his hand to brush it aside. But Kieran couldn't walk into a barber shop. There were no scissors, no hair clippers. Even the concept of a barber shop had never existed in anyone's mind. You might be thinking that he simply let his hair grow naturally, messy and unkempt, just like the shaggy image of prehistoric humans you've seen in cartoons. But the reality was far more complicated than that, and archaeological evidence shows that humans began deliberately altering and grooming their own bodies very early on rather than simply leaving them alone. Kieran's father took out a sharp piece of stone, not an ordinary rock. It had been knapped to create a very thin edge, almost like a primitive blade. Kieran sat still. His father held a section of his hair, then used the StoneAge to cut it bit by bit. It wasn't fast. It wasn't as even as modern scissors, but his hair gradually became shorter. The harder-to-manage sections were cut, shaved, or kept in place with cords and whatever materials were available around them. This isn't something I'm imagining just to make the story more vivid. In 1991, the 300-year-old mummy of Otzi, the famous Iceman discovered in the Alps, was found with neatly trimmed hair, not the wild, unkempt hair that many people imagine ancient humans having. In many other parts of the world, archaeologists and anthropologists have documented indigenous communities using sharpened shells, or even shark teeth, as primitive razors to manage hair and beards, a technique that may have existed long before there were any written records of it. A little while later, Kieran raised a hand to his head. His hair was shorter, no scissors needed. But what about fingernails? Kieran didn't have nail clippers either. His nails grew just like ours do today, the same keratin protein, the same growth rate, with no biological difference. There was only one major difference. Those hands were being used almost all day long, holding stones, pulling animal hides, digging in the ground, gathering roots, carrying wood, climbing, making tools. Constant friction and physical labor could cause the tips of his nails to wear down or break naturally more often than the fingernails of someone sitting at a computer all day. But that doesn't mean Kieran's nails would always be perfect. If a nail became too long, cracked, or got in the way when he tried to grip something, he could bite it, break off the excess, or grind it against a rough surface. A suitable stone edge, just like the one his father had used to cut his hair, could also help deal with a part of the nail that was causing discomfort. The same was true for his toenails. Kieran didn't get pedicures. He moved constantly across natural surfaces, barefoot throughout the day, so his feet were regularly exposed to friction, and his toenails could wear down, chip, or break completely naturally. If part of a nail became uncomfortable, it had to be dealt with using whatever was available around him: stone, teeth, a rough surface, or simply breaking off the cracked part. But hair raises a much more interesting question. Did all ancient humans cut their hair short like Kieran? Not at all. Some may have worn their hair long, some may have tied it back, some may have cut it short, some may have shaved part of their heads. And it's very possible that hairstyles also carried meaning about age, group identity, or status within the community. Just as a hairstyle today can still say something about who you are before you even say a word. The truth is, we can't know for certain. Hair almost never survives long enough in the archaeological record to tell us the whole story. It decomposes far too quickly compared with bone or stone. But indirect clues still exist, and some of them are quite surprising. Many small figurines dating back about 25,000 years, often called Venus figurines, have been found across Europe. They don't just depict the human body, they also show remarkably detailed and complex hairstyles. Some appear to show hair arranged in rows of braids, while others appear to show hair neatly gathered into a bun on top of the head. If these were simply random tangles of messy hair, there would have been little reason for the sculptors to put so much effort into depicting them in such detail. At Blombos Cave in South Africa, archaeologists found perforated shells colored with red ochre dating back about 75,000 years, the earliest known evidence of humans deliberately decorating their bodies. If humans cared about wearing jewelry 75,000 years ago, it's difficult to believe they were completely indifferent to the hair on their heads. Body grooming may even be older than Homo sapiens. At some Neanderthal sites, belonging to our extinct relatives, archaeologists have found smoothed pieces of shell that may have been used as a kind of primitive tweezers to remove unwanted hair, dating back more than 130,000 years. If that interpretation is correct, body grooming wasn't something humans invented. It may have been part of an instinct that existed even before our species, Homo sapiens, appeared on Earth. 30,000 years later, another boy sits in front of a mirror. Bzzz. Just a few minutes with hair clippers, and his hair is evenly trimmed. Then, click! A nail clipper cuts off the excess nail in less than a second. No sharp stones, no grinding, no biting. No waiting for the nail to wear down naturally. Something Kieran had to deal with using experience and primitive tools, passed down from father to son through generations, now takes only a few minutes with a tool you can buy at any grocery store for less than $1. You might think, so what's the big deal? Humans have always found ways to deal with their hair and nails. It's just a small detail. There's nothing particularly significant about it. But that seemingly trivial detail reveals something much bigger about humanity. We have never truly lived according to nature in the passive way many people imagine our ancestors did. Even when humans were still using knapped stone tools, they were already deliberately modifying their own bodies. Cutting, trimming, decorating, grooming, as an inseparable part of being human, no less important than hunting or finding shelter. But one thing hasn't changed at all. 30,000 years ago, hair still grew, nails still grew, people still had to take care of their bodies. The same is true today. Technology changes, tools change, from a sharp piece of knapped stone in a father's hand to the stainless steel nail clippers sitting neatly in your drawer. But the Homo sapiens body still carries those ancient needs, unchanged despite tens of thousands of years of technological evolution. And the next time you hear that familiar click of a nail clipper, think about this. How did your ancestors solve this exact same little problem with their own hands and a sharp piece of stone at a time when the invention of the nail clipper was still tens of thousands of years away?